Words about books. The end of the fiscal quarter, year, month. I don't know what we're calling it. All I know is that it's not Christmas. We're not doing holiday related stuff. We've got some Patreon episodes that we had them vote on
Yeah.
books a while ago, and we've got to wrap them up.
Christmas books, I think maybe I've finally convinced you on this. Christmas books suck.
No, absolutely not. We
There's
just need to try harder, okay?
there's
We just need to find the right Christmas book. John
there's a
Bierce, how much money do we need to pay you to write a Christmas book?
there's a Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, and that's it.
Maybe
And
we should read that, Ben, but we can't
we
because we don't
could.
have any time because it's all about wrapping up the Patreon requests for the year.
It is literally. So we have tried to have Christmas themes before in the past, and we probably would have tried to do that again. But we looked, and it turns out we have financial obligations to our investors that we need to wrap up before the end of the fourth quarter, or we'll technically be in violation. Though I don't think any of them pay enough attention to notice. One of them still voted for Nader, so we're probably safe there. I love you guys, but. We're back to proper words about books. So we've had a while here where October was me, November was you, and now it's December, and we're back to the actual show where we both read a book and neither of us are happy.
Yeah, we actually have not both read a book, like the same book for this podcast, since mid-September, Ben.
Yeah.
And that was the Aliens 3 screenplay. It's been a weird year. It's been a weird year. Yeah. It's good to be back. Yeah.
It's good to be back. So we're talking about the Fourth Wing, or just Fourth Wing, sorry.
Fourth Wing. It's the Fourth Wing. I will die on this hill.
Well, it says Fly or Die, Fourth Wing, Rebecca Yaros. This is my copy of the book. And this is a Booktok darling. This book was literally everywhere forever.
I saw it in bookstores when I
had no idea what it was about until I bought it and started reading it. Can I tell you what I thought this would be just based on the cover and the way it looked? So I didn't pay close attention. I didn't see the Fly or Die. I thought we were getting into some kind of R.F. Kuang Babel-esque.
So did I.
Yeah, dark academia. And it turns out, no, what we were getting into was like X-Men with dragons and hyper-violence.
And horniness.
Yeah, that's also X-Men. So everybody sleeps.
Hashtag not my X-Men, okay?
One of the main plot points of X-Men is a love triangle with Jean Grey, Wolverine, and Cyclops.
Or Cyclops, Jean Grey, and Frost.
Yeah, there is that arc.
Yeah.
Emma Frost, homewrecker. Yeah. But unfortunately, we're not here to talk about X-Men. That day has not come.
Instead, we're talking about this, Ben.
Yeah,
a book I finished an hour ago.
I finished the whole book, and during Nate's Nightmare November, I actually also read the second book.
I started the first book, I put it on the shelf while we did other books, and then I got back to this one.
I read 1,200 pages of Rebecca Yaros all in a row.
Wow.
Yeah. And I did it in like 2 weeks.
You were texting me a lot about how much you hated it at the beginning, and then like somewhere around the halfway mark, you flipped a switch.
I got pure Stockholm syndrome, and I started to love this. It was exactly the experience I had with Twilight, and we'll talk about that. So here's the deal. I'm going to pitch we actually cover the second book next year.
Oh my God.
I think it's worth talking about. Because...
Okay. If they suddenly start having guns, then I'm out. If they start having blimps and drones and technology more advanced than we have in the modern day, and we spent all this time doing martial arts in this book, I'm out.
You're thinking way harder than she is.
I'm thinking way harder than R.F. Kuang did.
I know you are. I know you're talking about R.F. Kuang. But
yeah, why did we learn all this kung fu if someone could just shoot me in the face?
I've been asking myself that ever since I got my black belt in Taekwondo. I was not ever able to master the ki blast, but I'm going to pitch we cover that one separately because there's a lot to talk about from a writing perspective.
Oh dear.
I think the second one is in many ways like a victim of this one's success. Like it feels rushed, and that's worth talking about all on its own because there's a lot of stuff to talk about. So I'm going to try to avoid spoilers for the second book.
Okay.
So I have read it. I do know what's going on, and that is going to color probably the way I present certain information. So keep that in mind. I don't personally think this is a book where spoilers matter. I'm just going to say it, though I like it. It's very stupid. And
we compared it to Naruto.
I think I predicted literally everything that was going to happen from the first 100 pages.
Even the reveal of her dead brother. Spoiler.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
There would be no other reason to have him.
It was a tragic backstory.
Yeah, no, it doesn't make any sense. A brother, though? She already had a dead father.
Yeah. Now she can have a dead
We'll talk about that. But first we got to do about the author.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Let me just...
Okay.
All right. I am in my reclined position. Prop my feet up. Go ahead, Ben. Tell us about the author.
Rebecca Yaros. There's really two main things you got to know about Rebecca Yaros. She is a military wife, and she has Ehlers-Danlos syndrome.
Yeah, when you told me that, I was like, oh, that's why the main character is...
That's why her joints are always falling apart.
Falls apart. Yeah.
So if you don't know Ehlers, and you might need to correct me on this, Nate, if you
I've heard called Ehlers-Danlos.
Ehlers? Okay. I don't know. But anyway, it's a disorder of the soft tissues, the connective tissues. And I guess one of the main problems you would have with that is your joints are very susceptible to dislocation, subluxation, etc.
Yeah. It sounds like super not fun.
No. And the main character in this, it's fantasy, so they don't call it that, obviously, like it's medieval fantasy. So, but she has a similar condition, and a lot of the plot of this book will revolve around her basically being Katniss Everdeen, but with that condition. And that's fun for a while. Until it kind of just stops being a pro. Well, I thought I liked it as a plot point while it remained relevant. But eventually, especially, and this is, I guess, second book stuff, but sort of by the end of this book too, she kind of just can kick people's asses hand to hand, no problem.
Well, yeah.
So I don't like it. At first you're like, oh my God, how's she going to survive this? And she does all these like fancy plans and clever.
The answer is
schemes
she's gonna lift with her thighs until she can.
Yeah, but eventually she just works really hard, and it's only kind of a problem sometimes.
Yeah, how can Naruto be the next Hokage if he can't even channel chakra, Ben? What a fucking dunce, am I right? He can't even do a jutsu. What a loser. Then by the end, he's like creating a million shadow clones and climbing up trees and shit.
So, about the military wife thing, Rebecca Yaros has... she's pretty involved in, like, I guess, advocating for military families. She's written open letters to Congress. She's been pretty vocal about how the war, the forever wars, have impacted.
What are you talking about, Ben?
Of military
I'm pretty sure we pulled out of Afghanistan, and that was it. That was the last one. We've been at peace since 1945. outside of
Oh, yeah,
Afghanistan and Iraq. That's
yeah.
how that worked.
We haven't declared a war since 1940. Yeah. No, but she's her husband was a career military. He did multiple deployments, and it was on the risk of tearing. It was on the verge of tearing their family apart. His contract was done. They offered him some pretty decent chunk of change to continue on, and she basically told her husband, "If you sign back up, we are getting divorced." And he did not, and he's been very supportive of her career, and that's why he gets a big old thank you at the end of this book, which I know you didn't read
He
because it's not technically part of the
couldn't get a
pages you have
desk
to read.
job or anything, or
Uh, I boy, dude, I don't know anything about
my granddad
that.
was in the military for like fucking
Is
like
this the one
30
you like or the
years.
one
The
you
one I
don't like?
like
Okay,
was in the military for like his entire adult life, and most of that was at a desk job.
so I have known people in the
Like
military
he
who
went to
had desk
Korea. I guess
jobs.
I
Like,
should point that one out. Like give him
here's the thing, though.
props.
I know one person who was in the military, had a desk job, was IT. I actually know a couple of people who were IT, and they all got deployed to Iraq to do network setup and stuff. So the desk job doesn't save you anymore.
I don't know. My uncle, I don't think he was ever deployed. He's a colonel.
I'll put you in touch with Rebecca Yaros, and you can tell her why her husband needs to sign back up, and
Yeah,
it'll be
let's
fine.
do it.
So, I also want to talk about some controversies because the two sided sword, the double edged blade of TikTok, is once you rise high enough, you got to fall. People kind of want her to be something she's not. I will give her the benefit of the doubt here on this. Somebody asked her, now, if you've read this book, Rebecca Yaros is not a scholar. Okay. Uh,
That's
this
fair.
is
That is
um,
a very fair assessment.
this is fun. This is fun, but it's like you said, it's very anime, very Naruto, very
Yeah, no, you're
YA.
not going into this expecting like high art or like
No,
we're going to try to work through like some very challenging questions or go
it's
over the
one of
human
the
condition. Nah, a big dragon go.
it's tropey to the point of being um past it's tropey to the point of being collage. Like, it's a little bit from this popular fantasy series, a little bit from this popular fantasy series, and she's got a good eye for picking the bits that work and making them go
Yeah,
together.
she
And I
didn't
think
have her love triangle be completely asinine and make no sense, and uh, like one of the love triangle wasn't related to her and had no interest in her, and another part of the love triangle wasn't like just the worst communicator and didn't seem to care about her until 10 pages before the end when he had to because he was the only option left. She was
look,
she did the formula.
yeah, she's very good at like picking what works and putting it together, and I think that's fine. I personally don't have a huge problem with that. A lot of people pick on her for that. A lot of people say like, oh, these aren't original ideas, she's taking from Sarah J Maas and she's taking from other romantasy author, and it's like I don't know. I guess once, maybe I'm older than the people making these comments, maybe I've read a bit more, but like
Yeah, Sarah
they
J.
all
Maas never borrowed anything from anyone.
eh, but
Like, guys, I
I don't even think Sarah J Maas thinks that.
no, of
I don't
course
even
not.
no. So
Very
it's
odd. I would be like, you don't see any parallels to Beauty and the Beast here. Like, obviously, that was intentional.
yeah, yeah, I think we even talked about that in our episode. So I don't see that as a huge
Look,
issue.
if I can pick stuff out like that, obviously the author can, right?
So, somebody asked Rebecca Yaros about her opinion on Palestine.
Why?
That was my question. I if you've read this book,
Again, if you like, it would be like asking Tolkien, like, what's your opinion on
Tolkien
Israel?
would
And it's like, I don't care. I don't care
he'd
about your
probably have
opinion.
a more enlightened opinion on it because he was part of the British Empire. He had thoughts on the British Empire. He was in Oxford. He knew a little bit about Hebrew. Like,
Even
Rebecca
so,
Yaros has nothing, and she does. It's very clear from the book she doesn't really know that much about like military
Not
tactics.
at all.
And
not even a little.
and that's fine, by the way. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's romantasy. I'm here for the
The
dragons, not the
fact is,
historical accuracy.
it was at least consistent. What stood out with like RF Kwong was some of the like like the things that were just like, wait, hold on, they destroyed all your crops, so you poisoned all of their crops,
And now no one can eat.
Yeah, now no one can eat. And by the way, this is a civil war, so you want to reconquer all that land. So I guess you're going to get all that land back, and then everyone will starve to death. Good plan.
And RF Kwong was very transparently talking about China and Japan.
What? And but she even said that wasn't the case, Ben.
Yeah, whatever. And so I read her response. It was not a great response. I don't think she said anything. Like she was basically like, it was like war is bad.
My response, oh yeah, that's Jill Stein's stance too.
Yeah, it was not.
My response would be pass. Sorry, do you have any question about the things I've written, or like pass? Like,
yeah, that was.
I'm not running for political office here. You don't need to know that. Next question.
I believe her experience with being a military wife and having a lot of her family members be in the military means she does have a lot of valuable insight into how these conflicts can affect the families back home. And I think that her work there is pretty decent, but I would not, based specifically after having read this book, I would not have cared what her opinion on Palestine was. That's just me. So I guess people were upset that she wasn't an enthusiastic supporter of everything Palestine, everything that's going on in Palestine, or that she basically didn't.
She said, "Right now, I'm right down the middle, brother."
Yeah, it was kind of like that. It was kind of like that, and it wasn't like. It's like you said, like, I'm not prepared to answer that question. So next, I don't. Not everyone needs to give a public opinion on that, I think. Especially if you're looking for them as to be like some kind of authoritative, enlightened opinion. I don't think that's a good one. So I thought that was kind of I don't think she had a great opinion, but I don't think a lot of people have a great opinion. And the one that I think is
opinions are like assholes, Ben. Everybody is one.
There you go. There's one more that I found that I think has a little bit more weight, because in this case, I think what she's accused of doing is 100% what she did.
Oh my God.
Did you listen to the audiobook?
Yes.
Thank you. Because I did not. And I don't know how she pronounced any of these words, and I don't know how any of these words are supposed to be pronounced.
Okay.
But she took all of
she appropriate some names?
She did. She did a little appropriating.
Well,
so she took
Mjolnir, okay? Mjolnir armor and Halo.
So she took names from Scottish Gaelic, which she pronounces Gaelic, which I have also
I was about to actually say, it's pronounced Gaelic, Ben.
It's not.
Well,
and unlike Rebecca Yaros, I checked.
As someone who... Nah, I'm not English enough to start talking shit. Anyway, go on.
So I checked. I don't know. It's possible. So there is Scottish and Irish flavors of this. And I don't know the linguistics behind it. I don't know how different the languages are. I don't know if they're based on a common ancestor, or I have heard Gaelic in relation to the Irish. But I did verify after reading this. I watched a bunch of videos by people who teach Scottish native language at a college level.
Welsh, by the way.
I can't understand them. I love how the one plot of Doctor Who is that nobody knows what the Welsh words mean. Blythe the Drug means bad wolf. It's like, yeah, it's a language. People, they're right next to you. I don't know.
They're
But anyway,
basically just England, right?
yeah.
I'll
Oh
say that.
boy.
I'll say that unless there's a Welsh guy in the room. I don't want to get my ass kicked.
I watched a video yesterday where somebody said that this was from Cardiff, England. And I was like, oh, you're going to get punched in the face by two people. But Rebecca Yaros, so she uses these Scottish Gaelic names, and apparently she mispronounces all of them. Because let's be real, what she did was she was like, I need to name my dragon stuff.
Yes.
Google.
Finally, someone else gets it.
Google Gaelic dictionary, and she just looked up words in some Google search, and she named the dragons accordingly. She did no real research because these books take. Look, guys, these are basically stream of consciousness. I'm sorry if you're a book talker and this is your favorite book and this is the best fantasy book you've ever read. I'm genuinely sorry if that's the case, but this ain't Tolkien. She did not meticulously invent a language over the course of her entire life. She definitely just Googled some names and then took a guess at how to say them.
Sounds about right.
And I will say, to her, I could tell you she probably did this because when I looked up, I would have bet money that it was pronounced Gaelic. I had to actually go.
What? As an American, I will definitively and authoritatively say that it is.
Well, here's the thing, because there is something to that. Like, I forget what it's called, but there is something to the way, like, we don't call Germany Deutschland. We don't call Japan Nippon. Like, there is something to, like, yeah, an American would pronounce that word Gaelic.
Yeah.
But there's a difference between being an American and reading a word in the way you would pronounce it and taking a bunch of Gaelic words or taking a bunch of Gaelic words to add flavor to a story and doing absolutely no research on the culture in which they come from. I'm not a big, like...
So what you're saying is I need to write a book. I need to just start taking Japanese stuff and just throwing them in there.
You would almost already you would be more familiar with the culture.
Yeah, I can say, like, I'm a quarter of the way there. So, like, well, I can do that.
You've known at least one Japanese person.
Yeah.
Which I think is more than... Like, you've known at least one Japanese speaking person. And I don't think Rebecca Yaros, until after she had written this book, had ever met anyone who spoke.
You know what? I've known 3. Take that.
Yeah. So I think that's pretty lazy. It's pretty lazy in this day and age. I'm not a big, like...
Yeah, just go random name generator, and then just click buttons until you find one that you like, and then, again, do no research on it. You don't want to know where that came from.
I'm hesitant to call people out for cultural appropriation because, though I think that has, like, tapered off in recent years, there was a period of time there where people were kind of like, you can only write what you are and you can only write about what you are, and basically they were just trying to separate all the cultures. And it's like, well, you can't do that, but then at the same time, like, there's got to be some way to talk about how
got to be a middle ground.
Yeah, people who just lazily add flavor by taking stuff they don't understand.
Flavor. That's what I do. When I cook, I'm like, what does this burger need? And I'm like, General Tso's chicken. Fuck yeah.
You put General Tso's chicken on your
right
burger?
On that burger. Splash of soy sauce, you know?
I mean, there's a difference between a splash of soy sauce. Do you put soy sauce on General Tso's chicken?
Ben. Obviously.
Okay, you can do that. I can't stop you.
Yeah, you can't stop me, and neither can Kansas law.
Kansas law can't stop you. So that's my thing. I think it will become apparent as we talk about the story that obviously she did not know how to pronounce these names. But I'm interested to know, since you listened to the audiobook, I'm interested to know.
I am struggling to even remember who any of these names are now that you're putting me on the spot. You're like, oh, I'm
I'll tell
interested
you,
in this name, and I'll be like,
I have no idea how to say any of the dragons' names. I apologize.
Starts with a T. There's one that starts with an S. There's
Yeah.
the gold dragon. That's an A, I think.
Yeah, I know their names, but I'll take a guess. So I'll tell you now. I apologize to any Scottish Gaelic speakers out there. I don't know how to say this, and I don't think I'm going to get much help from the audiobook. So I'm going to take a stab at it, and you can make fun of me in the comments.
Sounds good. All right, anything else before we get to the actual book? About half an hour into the episode, as is Words About Books tradition.
You can bite me, motherfucker. I listened to every match the WCW ever had.
Oh, you wish that was every match that WCW ever had.
Okay.
We didn't even talk about the Disco Inferno.
And we're not going to. Start the book.
So, we're following Violet Sorengale, Ben. She was born with glass bones and paper skin. Every morning she breaks her legs. Every afternoon she breaks her arms. And at night she lies awake in agony until her heart attacks put her to sleep. And she just wants to sell this chocolate, Ben.
It's not quite, but she's also like very aroused.
Well, yeah. Have you ever broken a bone in just the right way, Ben? And you're like,
No.
Now, she's struggling to climb stairs because her pack is full of books, and that's a bad idea. Because where she's going,
like every protagonist in a book, she herself is very bookish.
Loves books. They're the one thing that made her close to her dad. Her dead dad.
You have a father, but your father's dead.
Her dad wanted her to be a scribe, which is where she was gonna go to be, like a bookish librarian. But
because your father was such a talentless hack, you don't have a lot to live up to.
That wasn't her fate, Ben. Because her mom is a general, and her brother and sister are both heroes. Her brother is dead, unless Ben left that part in earlier when I said he wasn't dead, in which case he's secretly alive. But
I will probably
doesn't come
edit
up until
that out.
later. Okay, so her brother's dead, her dad's dead.
You had a father.
And her mom is like, you know what? I could afford to lose another kid. You're going to go into the riding quadrant. That's right. I know you've got glass bones and paper skin, but you're going to learn to ride a dragon because you have a name to uphold. It's Sorengale.
Probably.
So
we could be reasonably sure her first name is Violet.
So, she's got pale skin, pale eyes, pale hair. Apparently, she had a fever when she was a child and or in the womb, and it sapped her strength. And also, her hair is 2 different colors, Ben. Hot.
Yeah, most people have to pay for that, but she just has it naturally. It's all very fanficky. You will start to...
My first question was, how would she be fit for duty? But the book has a good question to that. She will die if she's not. So, the book... I don't know why this book got on, honestly, because... So what she has to do is she has to cross, like, a parapet, which I guess is like a balance beam, but for keeps. And she's physically unfit, and she twists her ankle, and she falls into the ravine and dies, and it's like a 20-page book, and that's it. I don't know how this caught on, but is the second book just like she's dead in a field and...
I could tell you. So let's talk about this. What is the name of the place?
As in the country or the
school.
the school? It starts with a B.
It does start with a B.
Hold on. Let me just. Basgiath War College.
Is that how they say it in the audiobook?
I'm
or are you
pretty
guessing?
sure that's how they said it in the audiobook.
So Basgiath. Okay. So this place is separated into 4 quadrants.
Yeah, it is.
You got the 4 kinds of military person. By the way, everybody in the country, there's mandatory military service. So every person, I guess male and female, has to show up to do some sort of mandatory military thing. And you could be infantry, which basically already dead, a healer, which you're probably going to live forever as a healer, but you got to be smart. So a lot of people are out there. Scribe, sort of the same thing. You know how to read and write, and you record everything. And that's where she wanted to go. But then there's also a 4th
wing
quadrant. There's a 4th wing too. There's a lot of force. It's a theme, a motif, high literary concepts that Nate doesn't understand.
Yeah, you got Slytherin, you got Hufflepuff and Ravenclaw. I don't know what either of those 2 things even are. And you got Dumbledore, Ben.
I think Ravenclaw was the smart ones, and then Hufflepuff was the socially well-adjusted that all the other British people hated.
And then Slytherin were like the Hitler youth.
That was the evil kid house.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a 4th quadrant because that's how quadrants work.
Yeah.
And
you can't have a
this
5th quadrant. That would be ridiculous.
That would be ridiculous. This one is the Riders quadrant. This is where the Dragon Riders live.
Fuck yeah.
And being a Dragon Rider is the most dangerous. You're like almost certainly going to die. It's like,
yeah.
I don't know how many people die.
Like a fucking champ. I know how many people die. Like all of them. Like
almost all of them, yeah. And it's like, unfortunately, these are also some of the most gifted, talented.
We set up a training program to train these badass magical fighter jet pilots, except problem, 90% of them died during or right before training happens. Oops.
It is very much like
we should have set up a way where like failure doesn't lead to death, and we should have fostered an environment that maybe like our cadets don't murder each other because it gets them ahead. But like,
I will give a slight spoiler in that they kind of barely acknowledge that this is stupid in the next book. But yeah, there's a very easy
Naruto
way.
Naruto figured that out. Zabuza killed his entire class, Ben, and they're like, maybe we stop doing trials by combat.
If it would be equally as effective if the student fell from the parapet and landed on a big balloon, and you sent them to the infantry.
Yeah, but how about instead?
That's not as anime. That's not as cool.
Too bad, so sad, you're dead now.
Yeah, and it is very anime to have people just go until they literally die, but that is also like a factor in Japan losing the war.
Yes, they could not replace their fighter pilots fast enough.
They're some of the most highly educated, brilliant, athletic people in the country, and they had them kill themselves.
And they also put them in planes with no armor. And then when the casualties started mounting, they couldn't replace their skilled fighter pilots fast enough. Meanwhile, the good old US of A over here was just cranking out nonstop. That was back when we used to have industry.
Well, and that's when you want like the rednecks. There is always some weird redneck engineer.
Have him cross the parapet.
Yeah. I mean, they're you got to be like really sober for that. So maybe a different challenge, but
yeah, the parapet is a balance beam for keeps, and also you are allowed to throw people off of it. So
that's a big factor. You're allowed to kill, with very few exceptions. You can just kill any other student you want.
Yeah. Which is dumb as hell, as we'll get into. Again, very anime, but do we want to go to the parapet, Ben? Do we want to?
Yeah, go over the parapet.
So we've got see, this is where the names come in, where her sister gives her like an armor with dragon scales in, and she's like, "Stay away from Zayden Ryerson, bad boy. Our mom killed his
would have
dad."
said Ryerson, but okay.
Nope, that's not how they said it. Ryerson.
Yeah, babe,
Stay away from Zayden Ryerson. Find your best friend Dane, and like when you get to the other side, he'll protect you. Zayden will want to kill you, and it's like, okay, so we've got guys named Zayden, and then we've got Dylan over here.
I knew you were going to say something about that.
Dylan. There's a trope, TV tropes where it's like, you got Aerith, and we've got Bob. like you're mixing these like fantastical names, and then there's Bob over here.
I think sometimes you are a little too harsh on that. Like, have you heard of the Tiffany problem?
No.
That Tiffany is actually a very old name, but it kind of fell out of use and then came back into use, and it sounds too modern to be in some of the stuff it's in. Because it does you do wind up with somebody next to like all these old-timey Middle English names and then Tiffany. But Dylan could well be like that sort of thing. Like some of these names...
Maybe it's Dylon.
Some of these names could... I don't know. I didn't do the research, but I also know she didn't either. So,
so it all works out.
It is the only way I could think that Dylan makes sense is if she is again in that quick Google dictionary.
The only way it makes sense is if she's like, all right, I need a guy who no one is going to get attached to because he's fallen off that parapet immediately. And there he goes. I even wrote down as I was writing it, like, okay, what's his last name? Why didn't we hear his last name? Oh, he gonna die.
It is like an anime. It's like one of these characters obviously spent way less time in the design phase than the others.
Yeah.
Why does everybody have really interesting hair except that guy?
Yeah. And
I knew Dylan was gonna die because Dylan also comes up there and he's like, "Yeah, guys, I'm doing so good. Like I came here. I've always wanted to be a dragon rider. You know, I was going to marry my sweetheart before I left, but she's like, let's not get married until you come back. But like, I'm looking forward to having a very long life. With her.
Here's my ring.
At least 6 children.
I'm going to propose with this ring. It's amazing. It's definitely going directly on her finger right after this. Woo! I can't wait.
He dies immediately.
That. So he puts one foot to the side instead of forward, and he's just like, "Whoop, whoop, shit!"
See, that's what you got. You got to watch out for that. You got to put your feet where the ground is.
And yeah, so she gets across, and as she's getting across, she sees another guy, Jack. So we've got Zayden, Violet, and Jack. I don't know anymore. Whatever.
What about Rhiannon? How do they say that?
God, how did they say it? Rhiannon? Rhiannon.
So Violet also has these nice boots that have a lot of grip.
Yeah.
Because if you have crappy boots, you're going to slip and fall to your death, which seems obvious. Also, it's raining.
Yeah.
And she gives one of her boots to her new best friend, Rhiannon. And that's a nice gesture. So she's making friends there.
Yeah. And then behind her, Jack just grabs a kid and throws him off. And then I'm like, well, why doesn't Jack just like camp? Just like anyone who wants to cross, he just throws off.
Yeah, okay. And so the logic behind the killing, I guess, is to be a dragon rider, one must have a dragon. And these are
true.
Intelligent fantasy dragons. They talk, they make decisions. Arguably, they make more decisions than the humans make. And they choose you. You don't choose them. And there's only so many dragons willing to choose a rider, willing to bond or pair or whatever they call it.
Bond.
I was going to say pair is
James
Bluetooth.
Bond. Yeah, willing to Bluetooth
up. So there's only so many willing to pair. So to increase your odds of getting a dragon, it might be helpful to kill your competition.
Yeah, and then you maybe don't want to encourage your soldiers to kill each other, though, when you need them to have discipline. And like, you don't want to go to bed in your border outpost that might be attacked by griffins, and then be like afraid that your bunkmate's gonna like stab you in the face because he's a psychotic, crazy person named Jack.
Or that he might stab you in the face because when you guys were in high school, you killed his best friend.
Jack doesn't have friends though, so
no, but like that's my thing is like you could easily see how like you're fomenting lifelong conflicts in your military where like
well, this country foments lifelong conflicts with everyone. They have wards up to protect them from outside magic. And
she stole that from Edenverse, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. By the way,
she stole Jack Barlow from Stephen King. He's a Stephen King bully.
So yeah, they have these wards to protect them from outside magic, and they're at war for the last 600 years since they unified with Griffin Riders.
With a civil war in between.
Yeah. So, and that's also stupid. We'll get to that in a moment. So, yeah, Jack attacks Violet. He gets on top of her. At the end of he attacks her. I'm pretty sure.
But this is after they cross.
Yes, but she has crossed and he technically hasn't. And so she can attack him, but he can't attack her now. And also, she has a knife at his balls.
She has a lot of knives.
And
important.
I'm just like, she could just nick the femoral artery. He will bleed out. Like, done. But she doesn't want to kill Ben.
Yeah.
She's joining a military school and getting the biggest and baddest military hardware. But she's not a killer.
To be fair, she didn't choose any of this. It's her psychotic mother.
Yeah, well, just fall off the parapet then.
You can always die, Violet.
Yeah, Violet.
Okay, so I will point out at this point, I will say it took me about 100 pages to not hate this book. And so I'm still hating the book at this point. And I was having a hard time squaring I'm just trying to make it a day at a time because I have no idea how I'm going to survive this place, but I want to survive, with the cocky, I also want to get laid, and I also I'm cracking jokes. And
look, when you went to a brand new college and you're like, all right, I don't know how I'm going to survive this college, but also I'm here to fuck. I mean, you almost spit up your drink.
Got a mouthful of chamomile tea.
Get paid, get laid, Gatorade, son. If you're not doing one of those things, you failed.
That's true. And I drank a lot of Gatorade.
Oh yeah, she likes to exposition dump while she's nervous. And I wrote down, I'm not getting any of this. And then yeah, she's now in the school. And I wrote, Dane is horny and so is she. Oh, Zayden Ryerson also found her and is like, I'm gonna kill you. I'm the bad boy.
Do you know why he wants to kill her?
Because his dad was executed by her mom. You see, Ben, there was a civil war. And his dad rebelled against the king. I realized there was a king like hundreds of pages in.
It doesn't really make sense that there's a king, yeah.
I thought that this was like a military dictatorship and that the general was the ruler, but I guess there's a king. Fine. And it doesn't tell you why or what the rebellion was about until that becomes a plot point reveal towards the end of the book. But rebellion's put down, and then they're like, all right, in order to foment all these forever wars, we're going to execute all the leaders, but we're going to make their kids watch the executions. All right, that's step 1 on our brilliant plan. Step 2, we are going to brand them all with marks signifying that they are traitors. Step 3, hope that those marks do not somehow impede my power when enough of them gather at once. Step 4, we're going to make all of them join the Writers' College. Now, this is a secret, not so secret plan to just like, maybe they'll all die. And it's like, guys, if you want to be evil and murder children, you might as well just go and be evil and murder children, because it would sure make you look dumb as fuck if they succeeded and a bunch of them got dragons. Oh, whoops. That's what happened. So,
well, I think they also thought, and I don't know why they thought this, but the military leadership thought that the dragons would like be bros.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you're not going to pick the traitors, right? And then a bunch of dragons pick the traitors, and they're like, dude, what the fuck? And the dragons are like, you're an inferior species. I don't justify myself to you. Never speak to me again.
Also, was Zayden's dad a dragon rider?
No.
Oh, okay.
He was infantry.
That would have been really helpful if he were, actually.
Yeah, I won't get into spoilers for the next book, but there's a lot of stuff that you could tell she didn't solidify how it worked until the next book, because if she had known how that would work, it would have come up in this book.
Okay.
There's a whole other kind of magic, basically. It's hinted at in this book, but it's like, yeah, it's complicated.
Okay. Well,
I mean, like she knew she was going to do it, but she didn't know how it was going to work.
Okay. Well,
and just for some reason, they don't teach that anymore.
Yeah, because that's for losers, Ben. It's like how, like, what if they had a college and they had a class devoted to lore, and then they just didn't teach it, you know? Like, they had a teacher who could teach it, but, like, they just don't care to teach it. And it actually is the most important class because it gives you magic.
Yeah. So I think I'll exposition something real quick because I don't know if there's a better place to put it.
Is it that Dane is horny?
No.
Okay.
It's that the way the magic system. We got to talk about the magic system. Kids these days love that.
All right. So you have this thing called chakra. You can channel that. It's based somewhat on physical
You don't
strength.
have chakra. That's very important. You don't have that. You suck.
I want it.
You're a human. Well, you want it? Okay, well, you got some options. Get you a dragon.
No thanks.
And then the dragon can channel their chakra into you.
I am jealous of people who have dragons because I don't have dragons. So
Get
I
you a
think
griffin.
griffins are for loser babies. Can I have some sort of middle ground? Perhaps a horde of not quite dragons. And can I
You can
also
channel
channel magic
energy
from the world?
directly from the earth,
Fuck yeah, let's do
draining
it.
the planet of its life force.
Yeah.
And empowering yourself.
Can I
and
channel
also
it from the
turning you into
earth?
like a vampire.
Can I channel it from the earth, package it and resell it at a markup to you, and then run propaganda ads that I'm actually the good guy and people who would regulate my practice are the bad guys, and it like pay no attention to the fact that there was once a forest here and it's now a desert wasteland.
Legit, yes. With
Fuck
runes,
yeah.
you can do all of that.
Fuck yeah.
So a couple of things to note right off the bat that, again, these are just rules. They don't organically work their way into the story.
Capitalism
Dragons,
mage. Fuck yeah. That's our next book series, Ben. Let's do it.
dragons are the most powerful. They're the best thing that ever existed.
Incorrect.
Unfortunately, they don't have thumbs. So, and I'm dead serious. That's what they say in the book.
Wow.
So why do humans and dragons work together? Because humans can use dragon magic to create wards, which are these shields that keep the bad things that don't exist out.
Right. Edenverse taught us that.
Right. I will expect my royalties any day now. And then the griffins, they're like dragons, but just worse in every way.
Yeah. What
they can't fly as high. They can't do as much magic. They suck.
Half of them are bird, half of them is lion, bunch of fucking idiots. That's just unfair, okay? A griffin is a tier 3 unit, and a dragon is a tier 7 across two different factions. That's just not fair.
The dragons, there's different colors of dragons, because of course there are,
Obviously.
because they got to match your style. And then if you bond with a dragon, okay, everybody who bonds with a dragon or a griffin gets access to cantrips. You get to choose 4 cantrips from the ranger spell table.
I want pen usage. I want to be able to use a pen.
You got it.
Fuck yeah. I don't want none of this feather and quill bullshit. I'm using a magic pen.
I'm very confused by that because, like, I recently became a pen guy. And, like, she's like, you need to...
what?
I like pens. I like pens. I have fountain pens now.
Oh my god.
I like pens. I like pens and ink. Okay.
All right. And
so
you're
here's
wearing
my
those
thing.
glasses. Okay.
I'm wearing these glasses. Yeah,
that's fine.
Is what I do now.
This is just who you are now.
This is who I am. Yeah. So she talks about
the wrestling podcast did nothing for you, Ben.
No, I bought these. I became more bookish in protest. So she talks about how they need magic to be able to use pens.
Yes, Ben.
And you don't. So I'm
Ben,
somebody who...
You cannot click or turn a pen, okay? Like, you without magic?
Can I tell you how pens work without magic? Just
okay.
So you know?
Yeah, fine. But I'm sure you're not going to be able to explain this in a rational way.
So for a fountain pen, you could get, or you could make these little ink cartridges.
Magic.
And then
exactly.
You put that in the pen and you pop it so that the ink starts flowing, and then gravity supplies the magic. The ink just...
Gravity is just a theory?
It flows down.
And
it wasn't just a theory to Dylan.
We don't take him into account. What is Dylan's stance on Palestine? Okay.
But yeah, it's you just put the ink in the pen, and then it flows down, and yeah, you gotta do a little bit of like engineering to make sure the ink doesn't flow too quick, and that, like, all that stuff. But I would think if you can invent magical shields,
no,
you could
can't invent
you could get
a pen
the fountain pen
without magic.
The fountain pen is not magic. It does not rely on electricity. I just want you to know that. Like, there's no...
Say that to my electric pen, Ben. I plug this baby in.
But anyway, so anyway, everyone, Griffin, Dragon, whatever, you get cantrips. You get some cantrips. Open locks.
Magic
which
pens.
Is a spell.
It does say in my note, magic pens, ...
But if you get a dragon, you get an extra thing. Every dragon rider gets a signet. And that, like in anime, that's your Kamehameha, your final flash, that's your signature move.
Sometimes you get some bullshit like Sasuke, he gets both lightning and fire. And oh my god.
I've got bad news for you about Zayden.
He's got shadow and he's got some other bullshit. You told me. Oh my god, you did tell me this.
I did tell you this.
Did tell me that.
Anywho, everybody gets like signature power, and your signature power can be anything. But some of them tend to reoccur. Like
Mom
you got your boring
can control
like
storms. One of these guys, he can. He's one of the first years, so he doesn't have it yet, but he can like see things at a distance.
Yeah, that one's not as great.
Yeah, one girl can astral project.
That's a lot better than the binocular one because you can just have binoculars.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Zayden can use shadow magic.
He's the shadow guy from Court of Thorns and Roses.
And or Naruto, Shikamaru.
And or Edward Cullen.
Does he have shadow powers?
No, he has another power.
Oh, I see what you're doing there. Yeah.
But then there's Mira, her sister. She can shield.
Just like Bella, yeah.
Yep, just like Bella.
Her brother could mend?
You know how, like, for no apparent reason, the vampires all got one power in Twilight?
Yeah. Because
I don't know why I thought of that.
Yeah. So, you know, once you get your dragon, you manifest Signet, and you can just start channeling power.
Or you don't manifest a signet and you blow up.
Yeah.
from not being able to release your magic. Which is fun. That doesn't happen in Twilight. That was a good twist. I think it would be funnier if sometimes vampires just fucking exploded. Okay, so that's my lore dump. That's the magic system.
Okay.
That's what we're looking at here.
So we're back to Dane being horny. It was like, oh my god. You're in my quadrant now.
You're making Dane too interesting.
You're right. Well, let me just summarize all the interactions with him, and this is how it will go. Pretty much the entire book. He's gonna go like, "You're not safe here. I'm gonna get you down to the scribes. I can't bear to watch my childhood friend, you, my childhood friend, who I have been friends with since 5. I cannot bear to let you, my friend, die in front of my eyes." And she's like, "You think I can't cut it here?" And he's like, "I'm not saying that, but yes, that is what I'm saying." And then this conversation will happen over and over and over again with her just getting angrier and angrier each time it happens.
He's very oblivious to that.
Yeah, he's very oblivious to it. And it would be really weird if they hooked up. Like some other books that I read where the guy was completely oblivious, but then ended up being the main love interest at the end for some reason. But yeah, Dane is very clearly not the love interest.
I honestly don't know which book you're talking about.
Austin McConnell, Ben.
Oh, that's what that one ear and out the other.
Yeah, good call. Good call. I wish I could do that. So, Dane, he can see memories if he touches your face. If he lovingly strokes your face, he can see your memories, but not your memories.
Oh my god. Okay, let's move on to the other characters now. That's enough Dane for now. Introduce some other people.
So, Let's see. Zayden threatens to kill her on multiple occasions and shouts down at her and yada yada yada. They have a bunch of different classes, one of which is Battle Brief, where again she knows the answer to things, but she wants to make friends, so she feeds the answer to other students. And I remember there's a thing where like the Griffins attacked a mountain village, and the dragons got there almost right away. And she was like, wait a minute, that's weird. How did they know? Like, they were 2 hours out. It should have taken them a lot longer to get there. And then Jack speaks up as if he's in high school and not in college. And he's like, this dumbass over here thinks that precognition's a thing. What a fucking idiot, am I right,
I did
guys?
note this down.
What
I
an
did note
idiot!
this down.
And the teacher looks at him because like and like doesn't really like, okay, yeah, they did know the ward was failing, and oh shit, Jack shuts up. But
also, precognition is 100% a thing in this world.
yes,
Their main general's power,
general.
his signet, is that he can foresee the outcome of any battle, and so he never fights a battle he's going to lose.
When does he know that, though? That's what I want.
Okay, so this one gets a little weird, and there is a little bit of clarity in the second book. But I think it's still, I'm going to spoil a little because I think it's still like, it's whenever she wants him to know, basically.
Okay.
So I think it's when he can realistically foresee a battle. Like when he knows that, when he realizes a battle is coming, he can predict the outcome.
But can he then deviate from that outcome? Because it sounds like he can't.
He can a little bit.
So, okay, so...
And, well, here's the other thing, though. I don't think... So here's the other thing, though. I don't think he, like, gets alerts, though, that, like, a battle he might be concerned about is about to happen.
Okay.
I think he actively has to try to use the power.
So we're at Gettysburg, and the two scouting parties run into each other. That's not a battle. Doesn't work. But by the time the armies have both shown up, that's a battle. And he can't deviate. He's like, well, I guess I'm locked into this whole Pickett's charge thing. I guess we're going to rush the center and get slaughtered, boys. Sorry.
Well, I think it's more like... Well, because he can always choose not to fight, so he can change the outcome.
Oh,
he can change the fact that there was a battle. Yeah. He can... I think it's more like he's sitting there and he's like, I wonder who would win, like
Batman
Bigfoot or the Loch Ness Monster.
There you go.
and then he can see the outcome.
Oh my god. He would be insufferable in our world.
He's kind of insufferable in this world.
Well,
I don't think he's in this book.
Yeah, I didn't see enough of him, but
rest assured, the guy who has that power is an asshole.
Yeah, the guy who has children watch their parents be murdered in front of them, it turns out he might be a bad guy. You know? He might be not on the level. But yeah, precognition is definitely a thing, Jack. And I'm going to have to ask you in the future not to have these loud outbursts, or you're going to sit the fuck out of my class from now on. You can go out in the hallway and you can just not be part of class. How about that, Jack? Yeah, that's right. Shut the fuck up.
If a teacher ever offered me that, I'd be gone.
So, all right. Well, I mean, you'd fail, but you know, you do you.
The hell do I care? I'm in college. This is just time I'm not spending in infantry right now.
Then they also have a class where they spar. You know, I think that this is where I took my break, Ben, because I remember the sparring like from earlier this week. And the precog stuff was from 2 months ago.
Okay.
So they're sparring. It's called challenge, where you win, you get a dagger from them. And Jack just whoopsie.
I'm confused about the dagger thing because different people have different weapons.
Yeah, but also shut the fuck up, Ben. It's ceremonial, but also the daggers are not ceremonial. They are deadly weapons, so... Yeah, Jack just whoopsie murders several people during the sparring session. He's like, I put him in a chokehold, and whoops, I snapped their neck again. And it's like, you know you guys need to disqualify this guy, right? You know you need to get rid of him. You know he's a humongous liability, right? Right? No, we're just going to keep letting this psychopath... Okay, all right.
So here's the thing, Nate. It's up to the dragons at the end of the day. Because the
How
dragons...
does that work out for Jack's dragon?
The dragon... Well, not great. Surprisingly not
I
great.
read what happens to Jack's dragon. It does not work out great for him. Fucking idiot.
No. But the thing is with the dragons, you see, they are attracted to power.
Power. Like slamming that mic, dude.
My phone fell out of my pocket and onto my mic stand. But no, so the thing about dragons is they're attracted to power. Except when they're not, we don't really know anything about them.
Just like
they
women.
Won't talk
they're
to
attracted
us.
to power, but they won't talk to us, so maybe they're not.
Literally, one of the classes is dragon lore. They don't know how many dragons there are. They don't know anything about the dragons' lives. They don't know...
Ben, we have only been in touch with dragons for 600 years. How can we know these things?
And we've been psychically linked to them, bonded through life and death in a connection that, if severed, will definitely kill the person and might also kill the dragon. That's how close we are. We are soul bonded, and I don't know anything about this thing that I'm soul bonded to. He won't tell me because it's dragon business, and I'm an inferior species, and I should shut up. And that is how dragons talk to people in this. You're not allowed to look a dragon in the eye. You're not allowed to talk to a dragon that's bonded to somebody else. You're not allowed to talk to a dragon you're not bonded to. If it's dragons are a problem, right? Like,
yeah.
The whole time I'm reading this, now I do eventually wind up liking the dragons she bonds with, but like, we should kill the dragons, right?
Well, good luck. They're in the Veil, and any human who goes in the Veil dies, Ben.
Okay, well, what if I turn off the shields that only I can make because of my thumbs?
Well, we don't know how those even work anymore, Ben, so good luck trying to figure out.
I read book 2. I know how they work. And I would 100% rebel against the dragons. But go on.
Yeah, it would be weird. It would be like if we found out tanks had feelings and also they had their own, like,
and they
society.
Ran the world, and they decided if we lived or died.
But they still needed us to load their... I don't even know. This is a weird analogy. We'll continue with Imogen?
Does nobody ever just hang out with their dragon?
No. Well, would.
Violet does.
I would.
Xaden kind of does. They're up and down, but... Okay, so I'm sorry. I interrupted you. Imogen.
During sparring, she pulls out a knife and stabs Violet, and she wasn't supposed to do that. And Imogen is also a second year, but
she turned this work into a shoot.
She did.
See, I paid attention.
So her armor protects her from that. Violet's does. And later on, I think Dane is like, I can't believe they attacked you on assessment day. And I'm like, why can't you believe that?
Because he's a rules boy.
He's a fucking dumbass. He's a
While you've described him as being horny, he is in fact lawful good.
He is lawful good. The most annoying kind of...
I'm playing a lawful good character right now. Watch yourself.
Hey, you're probably annoying, Ben.
This group needed a straight man, or it was going to get weird.
Okay. Kind of weird that you're the straight man, but okay.
What, you don't look at me and think, you don't look at these glasses and think
So Violet is going to survive, Ben.
I had a feeling.
Oh yeah, I guess we should talk about Dane. Yes, he the rules are like sacred to him. I can't believe someone would attack you on assessment day. I can't believe this Jack Barlow guy keeps killing people. Like, come on. Anyway,
It's against the rules.
Yeah, that's what you tell him as he's breaking your neck. This is against the rules. Yeah.
Though you may kill me, you're going to jail.
Except you'll die knowing he, in fact, will be rewarded for this.
Yep.
So, Violet's going to survive because she has a journal or notebook or some shit under her pillow that was delivered by her sister, that was written by her brother. And it's detailing all the ways you can figure out who is going to be challenging you in advance, and also poison them. Poison the shit out of them. Ben.
I like that part.
I like
think
that
that's
too.
actually a creative solution to her problem. Because
she can't beat them in a straight up fight. So she goes and makes some poisons, and she uses those poisons on the people she knows she's going to be facing against.
The one thing like I said, the one thing I dislike is that it's painted that I'll tell you something. This is just from my own personal experience, and I don't expect every fantasy, romantasy book to adhere closely to like reality. But so I did Taekwondo for a long time.
Yeah.
And I dislocated my shoulder very badly.
Yeah.
When I was 17.
And it sounds like you were a crybaby, because she dislocates her knee and they just pop it right back into place. Ben.
Well, so mine landed on my axial nerve and crushed it. And I had partial paralysis in that limb for 2 years.
Did you wrap it up with a good bandage? It sounds like you maybe didn't do that.
Yeah, I didn't wrap enough. How does one wrap the shoulder?
It's very joint. Very delicate.
You can tie it to your side. That's about it. So if I were to go back and grapple, so I have like stopped doing martial arts. I've had to kind of stop doing a lot of like serious weightlifting too, because if you tug on my left arm, it's coming out.
Yeah. That's what I keep in the back of my mind in case I ever need to take you down. That's your kryptonite. You're Superman, I'm Batman. I've got this contingency plan.
No, that's like one limb. And if I had to do, and I'm not even talking about people trying to kill me. Like if I legit went to a Brazilian jiu-jitsu class, it would not be a good idea for me, because
so literally you're just poison them in advance, Ben.
If I had to, I'd have to come up with some way around it. So I liked that. I liked that, I can't handle them in a straight up fight. But the problem is, eventually in these books, she can handle people in a straight up fight.
Yeah.
But her joints still fall apart. And I'm telling you, if every one of your joints fell apart that easily, no. There's no amount of conditioning. You can't condition the tendons.
Well, I think that's...
They never get better.
Quitter talk.
Trust me, I have many doctors tell me this. The only way to make a tendon
work differently in the world of the fourth wing, Ben.
The only way to make a tendon tighter is to go in and cut it and tie it back together tighter.
There you go.
And even that, you can only do so many times, because I've had that done multiple times.
Well,
too.
Go get someone else's tendons and add those tendons to your tendons.
That is a thing they can do, I think.
There you go.
And it's still like, they still recommend like, so I could tell you, like, every doctor I've ever gone to is like, so you're done with the martial arts, right?
And you're like, no, Dad.
They're like, because like we have a list of like at-risk behaviors, and one of the at-risk behaviors is have someone try to dislocate your shoulder. Just saying, she'd be popping all over the place. She's never going to get better. But eventually,
You
like,
did dislocate like at season 1 of this podcast, I recall.
I've dislocated many times. I've been,
Yes.
I've been. She talks about subluxation, and I'm like, I know, man. It's fucking weird, but yeah, I don't know. So like that part of me, like, obviously I don't have that Ehlers-Danlos or Ehlers-Danlos or whatever it is, but and I'm glad I don't, because I've had enough to know that I don't want it. But like, I don't know. I thought it would be interesting to have a fantasy character that has this physical weakness and can't be Katniss Everdeen and can't be the fighting badass, but like,
that just means she has to train even harder, Ben.
yeah, and unfortunately that's the thing. She just trains harder.
That is why you are not the protagonist. You have not when you dislocated your shoulder in Taekwondo, you should have continued doing Taekwondo and also done Muay Thai,
I did for a while.
Krav Maga.
So, I tried. I was a good anime boy. I tried to do that actually, and I just kept dislocating. So I had to quit.
You just didn't have the proper trainer, Ben.
The final time it got so bad, the final time I dislocated my shoulder, I was walking out of a restaurant and I missed a step and I reached out to the door frame to brace myself, and I got the door frame, but unfortunately my body continuing forward and me trying to brace myself was just enough to push it back out of place. And I was in the hospital again. So
was that the last time? Like
that was the last. That was when I finally
ago?
got the big surgery. And then after I got the big surgery, so the first one was like with scopes, and then I got a big one where they just cut you all the way open. And after that one, they were like, you really don't want to do this again. Like, you really, like, this is going to get rapidly less effective if we have to repair it again. And I can already tell you, the other day I was reaching into the fridge and I had one hand on the fridge door and the other hand was reaching into the fridge, and I had a little subluxation. And that was when I was like, I don't think I can keep weightlifting. It was sore from weightlifting, but I think I was like, no, it's screwing it up.
Just weightlift on one side.
I would actually say it's pretty fucking hard to do serious weightlifting if your joints are trash.
So just weightlift harder on the right side to compensate. Get yourself a Scott Steiner bicep on your right side to compensate for your left.
Well, I could, but I had to have a realistic conversation with myself where I was like, okay, look, I've got 2 dragons. How much hand-to-hand fighting am I really going to wind up doing? I mean, I'm just spending most of my day in the seat of a dragon saddle. So, like, that's what I'm just going to focus on for now. I think I'll focus on my magic. That's just me, though.
Yeah, that's just you fucking coward. So, she's going to get buff like big Papa Pump Scott Steiner.
I don't know why that's making you so happy.
Your facial reaction. So, she's got all this poison, and then it's like leaves and then berries and shit. Anyway,
she escalates to berries.
and then turns out Xaden and Imogen and also every other branded Schrader kid is here. They're conspiring. You can't have more than 3 at once at the same location, or we just consider it treason. Again, why are these kids even allowed to live if you just hate them that much? But whatever. So they're conspiring to help each other out. Those bastards. So
maybe he's not all bad.
Maybe he's not all bad. And she waits until they all leave, and then she sneaks away, only to get caught by Xaden Ryerson, Ben. He can control the shadows. And she's like, oh my god, he's just going to kill me right here. And he's like, no, I'm not going to kill you. Yet. Yeah.
He's like, are you gonna tell on me? And she's like, no, I'm not a snitch. People have been trying to kill me all semester and I haven't told on them. And he's like, respect. And then he's like, bye.
Yeah.
Also, did you know Zayden's supposed to be
Mexican?
Yeah, this is another one where she got into some trouble because she said I don't know what ethnicity he is supposed to be an analog to, but she said he is a person of color.
Oh my goodness, that is none of the fan art.
Or the description. So here's
no, not at all.
Okay, this is another one where I'm going to say I think Rebecca Yaros is just not like a super thought-filled person. Like,
well, what does she think of Palestine then?
I know this is my thing, man. Like, yeah, let's ask the Dragon X-Men lady what her thoughts on Palestine are.
I think that Palestine and Israel both need to get dragons.
No, what they should have asked her is, in your view, which one of them would have dragons and which one would have griffins?
Oh.
Then we'll know where she really stands.
Which one of them are Venom? Huh?
Oh boy, I wasn't even going to go there. That's a different.
That'll get you in trouble.
She already got in trouble, but no. So Zayden, I believe in her mind, he is dark skinned. I believe that, but I don't think he's like. I think he's like not like super darker than white. You know, that's how he's described to me. I believe she pictures him dark skinned. But to like the way she said it, like, oh, he's a person of color, like it was representation.
And yeah, it's like how there was a Jewish kid at Hogwarts.
It's not representation; it's aesthetic. He is hot. You're picturing a different, like Dane is one kind of hot guy, Zayden is another kind of hot guy. It's not. This isn't
Dane
like
a
representation.
Guy, though? I mean,
okay. So do you picture Dane as blonde?
No, I picture him as being a literal square.
I picture Dane as Fred from Scooby-Doo.
Okay. All right.
And I picture Zayden. Did you ever watch Legend of Korra?
I tried to avoid it, but yeah, I watched it.
I actually really like it. We've argued about this. There's an airbender kid in the later seasons who gets with Tenzin's daughter. Zayden reminds me of like a grown-up version of that kid. That's how I picture him.
So Zayden can. Oh yeah, at the meeting they also talk about like who's gonna get to murder Violet. I can't wait to kill her. And Zayden's like, guys, that's my job. I'll take.
Also, there's a lot of like objective reasons why you don't want to do that. Like, let's say, for instance, one of the marked does kill General Sorengel's daughter. Think that's going to be a net positive or a net minus for us?
Answer. Who cares? It's all part of the rules. When they're sentencing me to death for a crime they made up in order to convict me and murder me, I'll be that's against the rules, guys.
Here's the thing about what if they just kill you? What if they just pay a guy to come in and kill you?
They would never do that. They're so
I read
honorable.
book 2.
They're so honorable.
They're so honorable. Were they honorable when they were making you watch your parents' execution?
So, all right. Yeah, Zayden doesn't kill her. She's got poison. She's got a plan to survive. And
she finds him very attractive. She thinks she might have sex with him. She doesn't make good decisions.
Yeah. And, next week we'll talk about all the great decisions she makes. She's going to hook up with a dragon in the sense that they bond. And
I was going to say, that dragon's a child, sir. So
not the big one.
Not the big one.
All right. Ben, Patreon us. Who made this episode possible?
Who made this episode possible? It was, of course, because of the anime, I think he's going to go first. Isekai Sensei Sama of That Time I Got Reincarnated.
Okay.
Isekai Sensei Sama of That Time I Got Reincarnated as an anime pod in the same. Damn it. I did so well.
Got him.
I did so well for so long. That Time I Got Reincarnated in the same world as an anime podcaster. Podcast. John Bierce, author of The Rack and The Mage Errant, and an upcoming new project,
The Fifth Wing.
That's what she should have called the next book. D-Wing.
Danger, man. Stands for danger.
I was curious because it's the fourth letter, but okay.
Oh, okay. I went with the Frank Herbert, so.
Spooky Shy with a Y, over on TikTok. And last but not least, Jamie, the Gravy Man. Good news for you, Jamie. I hear there's a series in development about the Fourth Wing, so you'll get to review that, but not the book. Never the book.
Not allowed.
That's everybody.
All right. Bye.
So what color dragons do you think she gets?
Rainbow dragon. It's all the colors.
Did you read ahead? I'm not joking.
Are you serious?